Hello, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about absolute value. Let's begin. The concept of absolute value is basically an algebraic rule that attributes a certain value to this expression. Okay? You have the absolute value of any variable or expression is the distance from x to 0. The absolute value then is the distance from this number to 0. And you can understand here, if you have a number that is positive, its distance to 0, it's really the same value, it's x. But if you have a negative value of x, that is a number that is negative, its distance, it's then the inverse additive. That is to say, the number x with the changed sign, okay? Because it is negative, changing the sign of its number makes it positive. So that's the concept of absolute value. The absolute value then of any expression is the same expression when that expression is positive, and it is the inverse additive of that expression when the expression is negative. In this case, because it is negative, then the inverse additive minus x is positive. The absolute value is always positive. Okay? When you work with absolute value expressions, you first need to consider what is the sign of that expression, whose absolute value you're trying to figure out. If you know the sign of the expression, then apply this rule here. Use the definition of the absolute value to open and get rid of the absolute value symbols so that you can solve a problem. Example, if you have this, absolute value of 2x minus 5 is equals 10. What's the sign of 2x minus 5? Do we know? If we don't know, then we have to go this way. We have to assume that when the expression, okay, 2x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 0, then the absolute value of that expression would be simply the same expression. So the original equation would be 2x minus 5 equals 10. And from this, you know the value of x would be 15 over 2. On the other hand, if we assume that the expression 2x minus 5 can be less than 0, then it's clear that the absolute value of that expression would be the inverse additive. That is to say, the same expression with the sign changed. That is 5 minus 2x, okay? And that would be equal to 10. So from this, we know that 2x would be negative 5, and x would then be minus 5 over 2. So you have two solutions, right? Since we are considering both scenarios where the expression between the symbols of absolute value is positive or negative. But for example, imagine that they told you that in this expression here, let's consider a different example now. Here, they told you the following. 3x plus 2 equals 14. And imagine they told you that x is greater than negative 1. Or let's make it this way. X less than negative 1. Okay, if this is the situation here, okay, we know we want to solve this equation and we want to find the values considering that you have the value of x in the range of negative 1. You can do the following. 3 times x would be less than negative 3. And then 3x plus 2 would be less than negative 1. Okay? So, if we know that this expression is less than negative 1, it means that its sign is always negative. Okay? Because of that, when we try to solve this equation, we can simply open the symbols of absolute value by using the equivalence here. Because when you have a negative number, its absolute value is the inverse additive. That is to say, we need to change the sign of the expression. The absolute value of 3x plus 2 would be, because 3x plus 2 is negative, then the equation becomes minus 3x minus 2 equals 14. Okay, so from here we know that minus 3x equals 16, and x would be minus 16 over 3. And that would be the answer, okay, to this problem. So depending on the sign of the expression, whether you know the sign or not, you can choose one of the two strategies. Opening up the expression with absolute value in two different cases, or just the corresponding case according to the sign of the expression. Let's consider another important concept. Okay, this is an identity or an equivalency that always happens for any algebraic expression x, okay? That the square root of the square of an algebraic expression is the absolute value of that very expression. Why does this happen? Because out of a simple convention among mathematicians, the absolute value, or sorry, the square root of any number should be a positive number, okay? Assuming that the square root is always positive, then we cannot simply cancel the exponent of x squared with the radical index 2, saying that the result is simply x. Because if x is negative, this wouldn't comply with this rule. If x was negative, then you would be saying that the square root of the expression is a negative number, and that cannot be. In order to always get a positive value, we take the absolute value of x. Okay? Don't confuse this equivalency with this one. The square root of x squared is always x. Okay, this is different. Here, for this radical to exist, x has to be positive. Okay, so when you just raise this to the exponent 2, you get the positive value x. Okay, but in this identity, you can use that with numbers or with letters, with variables. Example, if you know that variable m represents a value negative, that is negative, then the square root of m squared would be the absolute value of m following this identity. And because the absolute value of a negative number is defined as the inverse additive of the number, then this is the result of the expression. Minus m is the result of the square root of m squared. Okay, with numbers it's the same. The square root of minus 3 squared would be the absolute value of negative 3. And the absolute value of negative 3 is the inverse additive of negative 3. That is to say, negative 3 with the sign changed, or minus 3, which is 3. As you can see, both results are positive. That's the way it has to be, because the absolute value is always positive, and the square root of any number is always positive too. This identity can be used in other ways. For example, if you square both sides of the identity, then you get that the square of x is the square of the absolute value of x. So whenever you see an expression like this, you can instantly substitute for this value, x squared, because it's the same. Another possibility is that when you have this identity here, you can divide both sides of the identity by the same value, absolute value of x. When you do that here, you just get this equivalency. The square of some algebraic expression divided by the absolute value of the expression always equals the absolute value of that expression. So this is another way you can use the identity to simplify some algebraic expressions in problems. Okay, let's now see how to work with the absolute value and inequalities. When we talk about the absolute value and inequalities, we have basically two cases. When you compare an absolute value of an algebraic expression to a certain positive number, saying that it is greater than or less than, that means, in the first case, that you are saying that the distance of number x to 0 is greater than a units of distance. So for that to be true, then the position of x should be in this region or in this region. You can see that the distance from here to 0, that is the absolute value of x, is always greater than a units. Okay? And here, this distance from the number to 0 is always greater than a units, because here a units only gets to this point, right? In other words, the value of x should be less or to the left of negative a. For those values to the left of negative a are always at a greater distance than a unit from 0. And x might also be to the right side of a, which is positive, implying that the distance of x to 0 is greater than a units. So x should be less than negative a or greater than a. And that's the abbreviated form to open up the absolute value in this inequality. Let's see a couple of examples. First, you have the absolute value of x minus 3 greater than 2. So if the distance of x minus 3 is greater than 2 units to 0, that is to say that x minus 3, right, here as a value should be in this region. Here is 0, here is negative 2, and here is 2. So it should be here in this area, or it should be here to the left of 2. Those are possible positions for x minus 3, meaning that x minus 3 is less than negative 2 or x minus 3 is greater than 2. From this, you can see that the ranges for x would be x less than 1 or x greater than 5. So this would be the solution. Let's try this with the second expression. That 2x minus 5, the absolute value of that expression is greater than 7, means that 2x minus 5 is less than negative 7, or 2x minus 5 is greater than 7. Okay? So 2x minus 7 plus 5 is minus 2, or 2x greater than 12. And here, x less than negative 1, or x greater than 6. And this is the solution. Let's see the other case. The second case is when you have the absolute value of an expression greater than a certain positive number. That means, if we interpret this geometrically, that the distance from, x to 0, this distance, the absolute value of x, is less than a units. So x could be here or x could be here, right? The distance is less, this distance is what we call the absolute value of x, is less than a units. So because of that, the value of x could only be between positive a and negative a. It's a close range where we must find the value of x. For the distance of x to 0 to be less than a units. So let's apply this abbreviated form to our examples here. If the absolute value of x minus 2 is less than 4, that means that x minus 2 is greater than negative 4 and less than 4. If we add 2 on both sides, on all sides of these inequalities, then you get x greater than minus 2 plus 2 less than 4 plus 2, 6. So that would be the range for x. What about the absolute value of 3x plus 4 less than 5? Okay, if we do this, then we should say that 3x plus 4 is greater than negative 5 and less than 5. Then we can subtract 4 on all sides of this inequality. And you get minus 5 minus 4 is minus 9. Here 3x and here is 1. And finally, you can divide all sides of this inequality by 3. And you would get minus 3 less than x less than 1/3. And here you have the final range of values for x. All right, so let's now consider a few more examples, GMAT examples with this concept of the absolute value. Question 1. Okay. Which of the following describes all of the values of x for which absolute value of x plus 5 is greater than 2? If we want to know what values of x satisfy this inequality, well, we simply use the abbreviated form to expand. For x plus 5 to have a distance greater than 2 from 0, then x plus 5 should be less than negative 2 or greater than 2. And from here, you know that x should be less than negative 7 or x greater than negative 3. It is the fifth answer choice. Let's check question 2. If absolute value of x minus 5 over 2 is less than 7 over 2, which of the following could be a value of x? Let's first understand what is the range of values for x in this inequality. If the distance of x minus 5 over 2 to 0 is less than 7½ units, then it follows that x minus 5 over 2 should be greater than negative 7 over 2 and less than 7 over 2. If we add 5 over 2 on all sides, then we have minus 7 plus 5 over 2 less than x less than 7 plus 5 over 2. So x is between minus 1 and 6. Which of the values on the answer choices belongs to this interval? Minus 12, minus 5 over 2 are clearly out. 7½ which is 3.5, clearly fits in this interval. So that is the correct answer choice. Let's see the next question. Question 3. Is the square root of x minus 4 squared equal to 4 minus x? Let's apply our strategy, our general strategy for data sufficiency questions. For data sufficiency questions, what we do first is try to reformulate the original question in such a way that we use an equivalent criterion to simplify the question. In other words, what needs to be true for this to be true, for this equality to be true? Well then, one can think in terms of the equivalency of this left part of the equation. The square root of any square is always the absolute value of the base. That expression is then equivalent to the absolute value of x minus 4. And here, if we want to write this in a special way, 4 minus x can be written as the inverse additive of x minus 4, actually. So, it's as if they were asking us this question. Is the absolute value of x minus 4 the inverse additive of x minus 4 if they asked you if the absolute value of y equals to negative y? When would that be true? Only when y were negative. Only in that case, that equality would hold true. So here, likewise, to ask whether the absolute value of x minus 4 is the inverse additive of x minus 4 is equivalent to asking if x minus 4 is a negative number. Or in other words, more simply said, if x is less than 4. So we will use this as our equivalent criterion to replace or simplify the original question. And this is the question with which we're working now. Let's analyze the statements, in view of this new question. If minus x multiplied by this factor, absolute value of x, is greater than 0, since you have a product greater than 0, then it follows that the two factors should be both positive or both negative, right? But you know that the absolute value of any expression is always a positive number. So we simply rule out this option here. Both cannot be negative. Because absolute value is always positive, it follows that the other factor, minus x, should be also positive. But if minus x is positive, that means that x is a negative number. But since any negative number is always less than 4, because of this, then it follows that we have a unique affirmative question to the answer. Being x negative, x is always less than 4. So sufficient with the first statement. Statement 2. The absolute value of x minus 2 is less than 4. We know how to open this. That means the distance of x minus 2 to 0 is less than 4 units. So that means that x minus 2 should be between negative 4 and positive 4. In that way, x would be greater than negative 2 and less than 6. But you know, not all numbers here in this interval are less than 4. Example, if x equals 5, then the answer to the question is no. But if x equals 1, the answer to the question is yes. This is not sufficient. We have a double answer. So the correct answer choice would be A. And that's it. Let's continue with example number 4. If y is less than 0, which of the following is equivalent to the square root of negative y multiplied by absolute value of y? Well then, let's consider the two factors here. One is negative y, the other is the absolute value. For us to operate efficiently, we need to get rid of the absolute value. We need to replace the absolute value in terms of some simpler equivalent. Okay, let's remember the definition. When the absolute value of y, okay, is evaluated, it depends on the sign of this expression y. What happens when the expression is positive or 0? Then the absolute value is defined as the same number. But in case that the number is negative, the absolute value should be its inverse additive. That is the number with the sign changed. Okay? So if they are telling us that y is a negative number, we can see that the definition that applies here is this one. In other words, the absolute value of y is negative y. And if we replace that in the original expression, we get this. So the square root of negative y is squared. If we multiply negative y by itself, we just get y squared, because these two negative signs cancel each other. So we get the square root of y squared, but we know this is an identity. The square root of any square of an expression is always the absolute value of that expression, right? And applying again the definition of absolute value, since we know that y is always negative, then it follows that this is equivalent to negative y, according to the definition here. So the correct answer choice is B. Let's see the next question. Question 5. Is absolute value of a times b greater than a squared times b squared? First, let's reformulate following our strategy. Let's reformulate the question into a simpler version of itself. A times b squared is greater or is less than the absolute value of a times b. We are simply reading the inequality in the question from right to left. Now, what happens if we divide both sides by this same positive number? Of course, here you just get 1, and here you get the square of a times b divided by the absolute value of a times b. But remember this identity. What is the square of an expression divided by its absolute value? That is always the absolute value of the expression. So, because of that, this question would be equivalent, because of this expression here, would be equivalent to the absolute value of a times b. And this is less than 1. That would be our question. Okay. Clearly, we can see that none of the statements gives me the possibility to answer in a unique way, because each statement contains information only about one of the variables. So we needn't try to connect themselves. Since here we have two inequalities, we can try and find a range of values for the product of these two. Okay, we apply the rule, and a squared b squared is less than and greater than some minimum value and maximum value. Okay, if we do the cross product here, we get that the minimum would be 0 and the maximum would be 1/25 times 1/16. So we would have this. Well, now, since we are looking here at the absolute value of AB, that reminds me that if we have these numbers orderly, and positive, I can take the square roots on both sides. And of course, the order should be kept. The square root of AB squared should be less than the square root of 1/25 times 1/16. Now, what is the square root of any square? That's the absolute value of the expression, okay? This is an identity. And here, it would be less than 1/5 times 1/4, which is 1/20. So we have that the absolute value of a times b is less than 1/20, which is obviously less than 1. So now we have a unique answer. Okay, that is sufficient. We can verify that the inequality in the question always true. So option C is the correct answer choice. Let's check another example. Question 6. Is x greater than 1? The question is simple enough, so we don't need to reformulate anything there. Let's attack the corresponding statements. A product of two factors is positive, affirms statement 1. The factors are x and the parentheses expression here. So we have two cases. Either expression is positive or negative. So in the first case, considering x were greater than 0 and the absolute value of x minus 1 also greater than 0, this would simply mean that the absolute value of x is greater than 1, and because we are assuming x is positive, the absolute value of x would then simply be x. So the equivalency of this is x is greater than 1. Now the second case, x less than 0, and at the same time, the absolute value of x minus 1 is negative. Here, the absolute value of x would be less than 1. And you know, you can open this like this, x less than 1 and greater than negative 1. But here is saying that x is less than 0. So if we combine these two together, it means that x is less than 0, but at the same time greater than negative 1. Okay, so in that way, we are defining each of the cases for this inequality. Unfortunately, the first one allows us to respond yes, and the second one, the contrary. So here is not sufficient. But we know this represents the inequality in statement 1. Statement 2, if the absolute value of x is greater than 1, we know that is not sufficient because that gives x the possibility to be negative 2. So we have a different answer choice, and we have to combine the two of them together. The best way to combine these at the same time is to do it graphically to avoid any confusions. Let's consider here these critical points, and then let's graph, okay, the intervals. The first statement says that x is greater than 1 or between 0 and negative 1. On the other hand, statement 2 says that the distance from x to 1 is greater than 1. Sorry, the distance from x to 0 is greater than 1. So if the distance of 1 is this, that means x should be greater than 1 or less than negative 1. That is the second statement. So you can see that the intersection we're finding here, because of combining this, is that only values in this interval, that is x greater than 1, comply with the two statements at the same time. So this is a common part, and here the answer to the question is yes. So we have now a unique answer, and the option to mark is C. Both statements are sufficient. All right, so the recommendation here is whenever you have intervals because of inequalities with absolute values, and you have to combine statements 1 and 2 to verify the sufficiency, always do it graphically. It's safer. Question 7. If 6 is less than 5 minus x over 2, which of the following must be true? Okay, evaluating the truthfulness of each of the statements must be subject to the restriction mentioned here. If 6 is less than this expression, it follows then that 12 is less than 5 minus x, and of course, x would be less than negative 7. This is what is absolutely true in this example. Whatever statement contradicts this affirmation here, then it shouldn't be considered true. Actually, this one that says x greater than negative 7 is always false, because it simply contradicts what it says here. Let's try the second one. The absolute value of x plus 4 greater than 3. Before just opening this, let's remember, can we estimate what is the sign of x plus 4? We are not told the absolute value of x plus 4 in general. We are told to work with this assuming this is a premise that x is less than negative 7. So, if we know that x is less than negative 7, we can try and foresee what the sign of x plus 4 is. You add 4 on both sides, and you have x plus 4 less than negative 3. But this means that x plus 4 is negative. Always. Because of that, we are opening the absolute value of x plus 4 as negative x minus 4. That is x plus 4 with the sign changed. Okay, and this would be greater than 3. Is that true? It is minus x greater than 7. But this is exactly x less than negative 7. This is always true. So the second statement, considering the restriction, is always true. It's just a different way to express the same truth. Let's try the statement 3. They are telling us that the inverse additive of x plus 5 is positive. So what this is affirming is that x plus 5 is actually negative. Is that affirmation true? Well, let's see here. If x is less than negative 7, what happens with the expression x plus 5? X plus 5 then would be less than negative 2. You can clearly see that this expression here is always negative. So, to say that x plus 5 is negative is simply always true. So, statements 2 and 3 are always true or must be true, and we mark the alternative D. Okay, so this is the last example. Hope this lesson has been of use to clarify the concept of the absolute value, especially when combined with inequalities, which is the most frequent case in algebra questions in the GMAT. Okay, so keep practicing for these concepts and see you in the next video.